Take a moment and listen, because what I'm about to share might change how you look at happiness. In life, small joys are so simple and ordinary that we often overlook them. But if you don't allow yourself to enjoy them now, one day, when time is no longer on your side, you might look back regretfully and whisper, "If only I had lived a little differently back then." I'm not talking about luxurious vacations or ticking off a long list of grand dreams. I'm talking about the quiet, gentle joys. Like a slow morning with a cup of coffee, treating yourself to your favorite meal without guilt, or lying down on a rainy afternoon, simply listening to the sound of raindrops without rushing off to work. These are the things we once loved, once needed, but then we started denying ourselves. Why? Because society tells us we must always be busy, successful, and restrained. We're taught that too much joy is indulgent and that living for ourselves is selfish. But you know what? Life doesn't send a signal to let you know it's time to enjoy it. No one will knock on your door and say, "It's your moment now. Go live it." If you don't permit yourself to live fully, then who will? And that's precisely why I want you to stay until the end of this video. Together, we will explore 5 guilty pleasures. Things that may seem like spoiling yourself, but are powerful medicine for a peaceful soul and a life with no regrets. Number 1 is something that so many people wish to have done sooner. Don't let yourself be the next person saying those words. Before we begin, if you feel these are things worth reflecting on, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on meaningful content. And share with me in the comments. What is the guilty pleasure you've quietly allowed yourself to enjoy or are still hoping to find the courage to embrace? 1. Learn to put yourself first. For so many years, you've always been in the background, quietly taking care of your husband and children, holding the family together, and showing up whenever your friends needed you. You put your dreams on hold and gave up life's simple pleasures just to make sure everyone else felt secure and content. You got used to saying, "It's okay," even when you were tired. You get used to putting aside what you love in order to serve others. But have you ever paused to ask yourself, how much of your life have you truly lived for you? Have you ever done something purely for your happiness? Not to meet anyone's expectations, not to impress, not to be responsible, but simply because you deserve happiness. Here's something worth remembering. No one gives out medals for self-sacrifice. There's no reward for always putting yourself last. If you don't start living for yourself now, then when? When your children are grown and have lives of their own? When will your job finally become less demanding? When the people around you permit you? Don't wait. Life doesn't come with a rewind button. This is the time to do something that makes your heart beat faster. This is the moment to reconnect with the old passions that once made you joyfully smile. Allow yourself to rest without guilt. Stand in front of the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and confidently say, "I matter too." Some people might find it odd when you start putting yourself first. They might question your choices, pass judgment, or even feel disappointed. But remember, that's their journey, not yours. You are not obligated to live according to someone else's standards for the rest of your life. You've given so much for so long. Now, it's time to learn how to receive, to welcome peace, joy, and love back into your life, not for anyone else, but for you. 2. Sleep in and nap without feeling guilty. Let's be honest. How often has an alarm clock dragged you out of sleep? How many mornings have you pulled yourself out of bed before the sun rose, your body still heavy with exhaustion, simply because it was time to get going? The answer is probably too many times to count if you're like most people. Adulthood often locks us into a cycle of responsibility. There's work to do, children to care for, and family obligations to meet. We mold ourselves to strict schedules and rarely dare to offer ourselves one simple kindness: rest. And yet, on the rare days we sleep in or steal a short afternoon nap, guilt sets in almost instantly. I'm being lazy, we think. I'm wasting time. But why do we feel this way? Because society has taught us that only the busy, only the relentlessly productive, are worthy of admiration. But that belief is not just untrue, it's dangerously misleading. Sleep is not a flaw. It is not indulgence or weakness. It is a basic human need, the most powerful and natural form of recovery for your body and mind. When we are sleep deprived, we are not just tired. We are more vulnerable to illness. We think less clearly. Our memory suffers, our heart health declines, and our emotional balance becomes fragile. Irritability, anxiety, and low moods creep in without warning. Few people realize that chronic sleep deprivation is linked to a significantly higher risk of Alzheimer's and dementia later in life. It also delays healing, slows cellular regeneration, and rapidly depletes the energy we rely on to function. Still, we often wear our sleeplessness like a badge of honor. We boast about sleeping only 4 hours a night, as if it proves our dedication or ambition. But it only proves how close we may be to burnout. Think for a moment. When you see a baby sleeping peacefully in a crib, do you ever think they're being lazy? Of course not. You say they're growing. They need to rest. And so do you. You may not be a child anymore, but your body needs restoration. As we grow older, sleep becomes even more elusive. We struggle with insomnia, aches, and restlessness. So when morning comes, and your body pleads for a little more sleep, listen. If your energy fades in the afternoon, don't fight it. Lie back, close your eyes, and rest without apology. The older adults who live the healthiest, sharpest, most joyful lives are not the ones who have learned to push through the pain. They are the ones who have learned to pause, to listen to what their bodies need, and to stop treating rest like a luxury. So today, begin to change the way you think about sleep. Sleeping in is not laziness. Taking a nap is not indulgent. It's how you show love and protection to yourself. Because one day, when your health begins to fade, you'll understand something deeply true. What you needed wasn't one more hour of work. It was one more hour of deep healing sleep. 3. Find the courage to speak your truth. Can you remember how many times you've bitten your tongue when you desperately wanted to speak up? How often have you stayed silent and looked the other way, even when your heart was full of words longing to be said? We've been taught to be polite, keep the peace, and let things slide. From a young age, we were told that being wise meant knowing when to stay quiet, when to choose safety over honesty, and when to smooth things over rather than rock the boat. And over the years, that silence became a habit. We nod even when we disagree. We smile when we want to walk away. We give polite compliments, force ourselves to agree, and ignore disrespectful remarks to avoid making things uncomfortable. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what is the cost of that silence? I've spoken with many older people, those who have lived long lives and stayed silent through most of it. And the one thing they say most often is, I wish I had dared to speak my mind more often. I'm not saying you need to be harsh or confrontational, but at this stage in life, after everything you've been through, you've earned the right to live authentically and to speak honestly. If something makes you uncomfortable, say it. If something feels unfair, call it out. If you disagree, don't nod just to make someone else feel better. Yes, sometimes your truth might make others uneasy, but honesty creates clear boundaries. And here's the beautiful thing. Others may not always like what you say, but will respect you. And more importantly, you will learn to respect yourself. But speaking up isn't just about voicing discomfort or disapproval. It's also about saying the words of love that often go unsaid. Don't assume your children already know how proud you are of them. Don't believe your partner automatically senses how deeply you value them. Don't wait for a special occasion to thank an old friend for always being there. Say it, today, right now. A kind, heartfelt word can become something someone carries with them for the rest of their life. Don't wait for a better moment, because the truth is, sometimes that moment never comes. 4. Don't be afraid to spend on what makes you smile. How many times have you stood in front of something beautiful that felt just right, only to shake your head and whisper to yourself, "I don't really need it"? How often have you put something back on the shelf because the price was high, or convinced yourself, "I can live simply, I don't need this"? And then you walked away, but your heart lingered. You kept thinking about it for days afterward. We've been taught to be frugal, save, and always think ahead. And that's not wrong. But the question is, who are we saving for? And what are we saving toward if we never allow ourselves to truly live? I've met many people who spent their whole lives being careful, counting every penny, denying themselves the little things that brought them joy. And what happened? They reached old age with a decent amount of savings, but no longer had the health, the time, or sometimes even the loved ones to enjoy life with. Even worse, some passed away before they ever got to experience anything that truly made them happy. And what happens then? The money they worked so hard to save ends up in the hands of others. People who spend it freely on new cars, luxurious vacations, and expensive things, while the ones who earned it never allow themselves the joy of buying even a dress they truly loved. I'm not telling you to spend recklessly or live beyond your means. But if you have the ability, if something brings you lightness, joy, or makes you feel more alive, then why deny yourself? If a beautiful dress makes you feel confident outside, buy it. Enjoy if dinner at your favorite restaurant brings sweetness back into your life. If you've dreamed about a trip or a special experience for years, don't put it off any longer. The truth is, time waits for no one. There will come a day when you can no longer climb those stone steps in Paris or walk barefoot along the dreamlike beaches of the Maldives. There will come a day when your hands may no longer be steady enough to paint, take photos, or cook a warm meal just for yourself. There will come a day when everything you're postponing today will become impossible. So what are you waiting for? You've worked hard through the best years of your life, not to sit in regret, counting every penny, refusing the small joys that could bring color and warmth to your days. And if someone criticizes you, does that mean you're being indulgent or spoiling yourself? Smile gently and say, "I'm not being wasteful, I'm living." You deserve that more than anyone else. 5. Eat what you love, not with guilt, but with all your heart. Pause for a moment and ask yourself a simple question. How many meals have you had in your lifetime? Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. But how many of those did you truly enjoy? Completely, without worry, without guilt? How often have you allowed yourself to savor every bite with innocent joy, without the nagging voices in your head whispering, "This has too many calories. I'll regret this," or "I shouldn't be eating this at my age"? If you're like most people, the answer is very few. We were raised in a world that ties food to control. Choose salad over pasta. Skip dessert, no matter how much you crave it. Measure every portion with hesitation, not with joy. Why? Because we fear gaining weight. We fear judgment. We think that enjoying food too much makes us weak. But you know what? Enough is enough. One day, it won't be a diet plan or a doctor telling you what to eat. It will be your body. One day, you'll have to avoid salt, cut out sugar, and say no to fried foods, fermented dishes, and even the meals you once adored. Your appetite may fade. Your stomach may become sensitive. Your tongue might lose its ability to savor flavor as it used to. And when that day comes, you'll wish you'd eaten that little slice of cake on a beautiful afternoon. You'll wish you'd enjoyed that cup of hot cocoa, even if it had sugar. You'll regret turning meals into strict obligations instead of allowing them to be simple joys. I'm not telling you to eat recklessly, as you might have in your 20s. I'm talking about the pure human joy of eating something you love, with gratitude, mindfulness, and without shame. Food is deeply woven into the happiest memories of our lives. The laughter around a New Year's dinner table, the comforting aroma of your mother's soup, the first birthday cake you baked for your child, the quiet afternoon coffee with an old friend. None of these moments come from a perfect diet, but they nourish your soul in ways nothing else can. Did you know that some of the longest living communities in the world, in Italy, Japan, France, don't follow strict diets? They eat foods with oil, pasta, and sweets. But they eat slowly. They eat in warm company. They eat with joy, not guilt. They eat with their hearts, not their fears. So from today on, change the way you look at food. Craving a warm, crusty loaf of bread? Eat it. Want some chocolate or a cool scoop of ice cream? Enjoy it. Longing to taste your mother's old recipe again? Don't wait. And if someone frowns and says, "At your age, you're still eating that," look at them, smile gently and say, "I'm living, and I deserve every single bite." Today, allow yourself to pause, just for a moment. But let that moment be yours and yours alone. It doesn't have to be anything grand. You don't need to spend much money or plan anything elaborate. Sometimes, a warm cup of coffee, an old song that once moved you, or just a few quiet minutes in the late afternoon sun is enough to make your heart feel soft again. As long as it brings you joy, it's enough. Because if you don't start prioritizing yourself now, then when? Don't wait for the perfect moment. It may never come. Life is always moving. Health doesn't wait. And time keeps slipping by, silently, without warning. So please, don't put it off any longer. Start today with something small and simple, as long as it makes you feel alive and fully you. And now, I'd truly love to hear from you. Among the guilty pleasures we've just explored together, which one have you started to allow yourself to enjoy? And which one has been the hardest? Is it sleeping in without guilt, speaking your truth, savoring your favorite food, or finally spending on something just for yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments. Who knows? Your story might inspire someone waiting for a gentle nudge to begin their own journey towards self-love. Before you go, if this video made you pause or smile, please click like and subscribe so we can keep walking this path together. And if you'd like to receive gentle, heartfelt notes and the occasional secret message just for those closest to me, I invite you to join my Savvy Senior newsletter. I write it as if I'm writing to a dear friend, and I always send it just when you need it most. I'll see you in the next video, and please remember this. Don't just live to get through the day. Live to enjoy it. Because you deserve that more than anyone else.